And 35 of these are burning displays. You can experience the glow and warmth of a live fire.
Whether wood, gas, or electric, find a fire that warms your heart, a fire that adds comfort and security to your life. See the many choices at Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces, located on the corner of East Franklin and Riverside Avenue in Minneapolis, and online at woodlandstoves.com.
Woodland Stoves and Fireplaces since 1977. For over 48 years, our slogan has been, out of the ordinary products and services. Our mission is to get you a fireplace that works in your life.
Crooners is a classic supper club with a wide range of entertainment. Make your reservations for a parade of international, national, and local artists in the main stage showroom, the intimate Dunsmore Jazz Room, or outdoors at the seasonal Belvedere Under the Stars space. Or enjoy Maggie's Piano Lounge. Enjoy 4-star food and drinks with first-class supper club service. What are you waiting for? Go to croonersmn.com for more information and schedule. That's croonersmn.com.
With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 53, tonight clear with a low around 35, and Thursday cloudy with a high around 54. Cafe Latte's Bakery is a local favorite for fresh baked treats, cupcakes, and breads, all made without artificial ingredients. Because a Cafe Latte, ingredients matter. Find them off Victoria and Grand in St. Paul, and for takeout or reservations, visit cafelatte.com.
Portions of the following program may be pre-recorded.
Broadcasting from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk. Welcome to The Gailey Show, the only daily LGBTQ radio news and talk show in the United States. I am John Parker with my executive producer, Jim Pounds.
Hey, all.
We are live streaming on our YouTube channel right now, and if you like what we're doing there, subscribe on YouTube, click that like button, and leave us a comment. What is on the show today? Jake Wittich, managing editor of Windy City Times and the 2025 Chicago Journalist of the Year, is back with new reporting on how a trans man is alleging discrimination for trying to use a bathroom at Chicago's Round 1 arcade. Plus, new GenderCool leader Chase Glenn is inviting Chicago to meet the champions at a November fundraiser. Jake will tell us all about that. But up first, last night, it was election night in America. Well, we've got some Minnesota-based results that we'll kick off with right now. Incumbent Mayor Jacob Fry was re-elected earlier today on Wednesday. The ranked choice voting, he did not get enough votes on Tuesday night in the first round, so it went into the runoff, and almost all of the candidates were eliminated in the second round, and it came out with Fry with 50% of the vote, and Minnesota State Senator Omar Fateh with 44% of the vote. Very interested to see how the breakdown happens, like who were the second choice for the folks who voted for Reverend Dr. Davis and for Jazz Hampton. Like, were their second choice the incumbent Mayor Fry? Was it Senator Fateh? Who were those? And clearly, a lot of them went to Mayor Fry. So there we are. He will be starting a third term as mayor, and already there are a lot of folks noting that to get to where he was, he had to have had some MAGA voters along the way, which is very interesting to think about how that all played out.
Well, the ranked choice voting gave Fry an extra 12,000 votes, but it gave State Senator Fateh 19,000 votes. So I really thought it was going to be closer than that. I thought there were so many sort of counterculture and not mainstream candidates who were not going to support a corporate Democrat, but turns out for second choice, a lot of people went the safe route, I guess.
I think there was a lot of negative advertising happening, and even on this network, there was a lot of negative advertising from folks supporting Mayor Fry. I don't think they were part of Fry's campaign, but PACs who were supporting him. Right. And we're going to see what happens here. I don't think he should have run just because I don't think people should perpetually run for things. So that was the basis for me recommending not to rank Mayor Fry, was that, enough. We need to have other people in there.
But the same thing happened in New York. A lot of negative advertising was run and it didn't have this outcome for whatever, I'm not really making a judgment. I'm just making an observation.
I think that Cuomo was an insanely flawed candidate and should never have been running in the first place, and lost a primary and kept going.
Yeah,
and so
I would agree.
Mayor Fry didn't have that baggage.
Right.
Didn't have that baggage.
Right. Well, I hope he solves the problem with the
what I will say
council.
Is that I think, though, that he does contribute to this idea that somehow democratic socialism and progressives are as scary as MAGA, and I just really don't appreciate that. No. I think that's
it's foolish.
A false narrative to be perpetrating. Yeah. And on the Minneapolis Council, the progressives lost their veto-proof majority to override any vetoes by the mayor. So I have no idea what's going to happen here moving forward, because the majority of the council is still progressives. Mayor Fry was positioning himself as I'm the only one who can stop the progressives and the democratic socialists, so that's why you have to vote for me. And I don't know how that is going to play out. I mean, from an LGBTQ perspective, Mayor Fry has been a pretty stalwart supporter of the community. So if we're looking just through that lens, I think that, it is good to know that in Minneapolis, we will still have an ally in the mayor's office. We will have allies in the majority of the city council. So from that perspective, how it all then plays out, because there are a lot of queer folks that are affected by housing costs rising. And there are a lot of folks that are, dealing with the economy and public transportation. And so we're going to see how those policies of Mayor Fry's impacts queer people's day-to-day lives, and what this potential stalemate continues between himself and the city council.
Well, nobody's talking about corporate ownership of single-family housing, but it's probably Minneapolis's number one problem. And I never heard one of the 15 candidates mention it. So
they did. There was a forum. There was a forum where they were talking about housing. Yeah, okay. I went back and looked at the transcript.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah. In St. Paul, incumbent Mayor Mayor Melvin Carter, lost his race to Representative Cowley Herr, which was a surprise win. Mayor Carter was also running for a third term, and sorry. 2 terms, and please, you're done. Term limits, please. And I say that also with Governor Walz. Please don't run again. 2 terms, that's enough. Term limits. We need to have changeover. We cannot keep having people running and running and running and running and running. This is a democracy. This isn't just an anointing every 4 years of, yes, we're just going to keep voting for the same people. Anyway, interestingly, about Rep. Herr, from a queer perspective, the representative was the main sponsor of the Equal Rights Amendment here in Minnesota and the magical biennium we had a couple years ago that we got all sorts of progressive legislation done. Unfortunately, they couldn't get that one across the line. And then the election happened last fall, and the Minnesota House is tied 50-50, so there's no chance of it getting through this time around. But Representative Herr's legislation, it was a equal rights amendment to be in front of the voters. It was supposed to happen, yesterday. We would have voted on it if everything had gone through correctly. But it would have been big protections, expanded protections for LGBTQ people. And so it's really nice to see that Representative Herr will be in the mayor's office. And it was a close vote. It was also ranked choice, and that's how it happened over there. Even though Carter came out ahead, it was 41% to 38% once the ranked choice went through. It was a tight race still. So those are the main things.
What about
that
some
happened.
Other states?
Yes. Let's talk about the Pennsylvania Supreme Court.
Okay.
Because I know that we had been following that. Jim, you in particular had been following that. Do you want to give us the update there?
Well, just that the talk was the Republicans thought they were going to sneak this by in an off-year election, And it was a pretty smart strategy. It was pretty smart to say, hey, although they eventually relied on lying to the public about what their vote would mean, which I have no respect for.
There were mailers that
literally said the opposite of the
Mhm.
truth. And I really detest that kind of thing. If you can't win on your own merits, shut up. So they lost, I think all of those attempts to not retain the justices were defeated. I think they won retention by about 62%, which is decisive, obviously. So that a lot of money wasted and a lot of damage done to credibility.
And when you say that, they the percentage, they had over 80% of the vote saying to retain these justices, right?
I think it was lower than that when all the numbers came. I thought the numbers that I saw started out at 80% at the beginning of the night, but by the end of the night, it was more like 62-38 is what I seem to remember seeing. But I can check that.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. So anyway, we retained all three of the Democrats in the state Supreme Court. That's going to be critical in 2028. So that was an enormous victory that people really paid attention to what was being done there, and the lying and deception didn't work.
Mm-mm.
Good on you, Pennsylvania.
And then a big gain in the Virginia legislature. The Democrats not only retained control of the assembly, they expanded those numbers by a huge margin, which was very interesting to see that a lot of anti-trans politicians who all throughout the country, a lot of MAGA, were running on that anti-trans, using the exact same verbatim from last year. And this time around, it did not work out for them at all. Aaron in the morning has some really great reporting on there. I'm gonna highlight it here in a couple seconds. But it's impressive how they expanded their.
Oh, they're gonna.
Yeah,
she can talk
it's
about
it's not the assembly. It's the House of Delegates.
Yeah, House of Delegates.
The House of
I
Delegates.
mean, I have the numbers. You're saying.
Yeah, what are the numbers?
Well, I think the Democrats picked up 13 seats, if I recall, and about half of them from everything.
13.
From everything that I can tell, about 6 of them were LGBT people, according to the LGBTQ caucus, and it's an incredible number to gain. That is literally a blue wave. We talk about it here. One finally happened in Virginia, but half of them are LGBT people. I was really proud of that. Congratulations.
Yep, they flipped 13 seats in the House of Delegates. So now they have 64-36, which according to the Commonwealth Times, an independent publication in the state, this is the best position the party has held in decades.
That's great. There's several other states I'd like to see that happen in, but we'll start there.
Well, there were other things that were surprises last night. I know the House Speaker, Mike Johnson, was out there saying today that blue cities and blue states were voting, and that's why we saw blue outcomes. Well, not so fast, Speaker Johnson.
Yeah. Georgia,
for the first time in a number of years, has flipped 2 seats on the Public Service Commission. This 2 GOP incumbents were running. They lost. The Public Utility Commission deals with electricity prices and energy policy. And most importantly, besides the Senate races that went to Democrats over the past few years, and this is the first time at the state level that Democrats have been winning. First 2 seats in a number of years, a long time. So it was very exciting to see that. We're going to break down some more key races when we come back. You're listening to The Gailey Show on AM 950 KTNF and WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk.
On Saturday, November 15th, One Voice Mixed Chorus presents the concert Protest Lines, a concert and community sing at the O'Shaughnessy Auditorium. Hear the chorus perform powerful music of protest and then join them as they teach you songs to take to the streets. This is a true community sing-in for the times we are enduring. Go to onevoicemn.org to buy tickets. onevoicemn.org.
Oh, you know what that music means. It means I'm back, baby! The Grinch. Don't miss seeing me at Children's Theatre Company this holiday season. Dr. Seuss's How the Grinch Stole Christmas is great for anyone who likes classic Grinchy tunes, and me, the mean one in the flesh, or in the green fur. Make your plans to spend the holiday season with me. You'll remember it forever. Tickets and showtimes at childrenstheatre.org.
I'm Rachel Schroman, owner of Schroman Law, and I believe you deserve information. Our firm offers free quarterly estate planning seminars at our office in St. Paul. At these seminars, you can learn the basics of estate planning from an attorney to help you determine which estate planning documents will meet your needs and goals in an efficient and cost-effective manner. You can learn more and register at our website, schromenlaw.com/events. That's SCHROMEN law.com/events.
Hi, this is Ryan, owner of Snap Construction. It's been great working with so many of the passionate AM 950 listeners over the years. We have realized how important AM 950 is to the community. I want to see AM 950 continue to grow and continue to thrive into the future. To help continue to grow, Snap Construction will be putting up proceeds to assist the station in marketing on social media. Snap Construction encourages you to do your part by liking and sharing the content on AM 950 social media platforms.
This is Chad, owner of AM 950. Ryan has always told me the best time to get work done is during the colder months of the year because demand is much lower. He is backing that up again by offering 30% off labor on windows and siding from now until the end of December. Call Snap Construction now to get 30% off labor on windows and siding. As always, Snap Construction stands by their work with a lifetime craftsmanship warranty. Trust the company AM 950 trusts Snap Construction, arguably the most well-reviewed roofing, siding, and window contractor in the metro area. Get a free estimate by calling 612-333-SNAP or find them online at snapconstruction.com. Financing options available.
This season, bring the whole family to see Irving Berlin's White Christmas. This smash hit musical based on the classic film returns by popular demand to delight you at Chanhassen dinner theaters. With loads of laughter and a stunning showcase of Irving Berlin songs, White Christmas is a celebration of the romance, friendship, and magic of the holidays. Make your plans today to see White Christmas. Visit chanhassendt.com.
Welcome back to the Gailey Show. I am John Parker. We are coming up on the bottom of the hour. There we go. I'm in studio with my executive producer, Jim Pounds. We are breaking down the election results from yesterday. So we were talking about before the break how the Democrats won statewide elections for the first time in a number of years, where two Democrats flipped GOP seats on the Public Service Commission in Georgia. Rather, what did I say?
You didn't say a place.
Oh, in Georgia. In Mississippi, they also broke a MAGA supermajority by flipping a couple of seats there as well, which was very exciting to see that happen. The Minnesota Democrats according to NPR, broke a GOP supermajority in the state Senate after flipping two seats in that chamber, the state Senate, after picking up also a seat in the state House.
In Mississippi.
I said Mississippi.
I thought you said Minnesota.
I said Mississippi.
Okay.
A federal court ordered lawmakers to redraw 14 House and Senate districts after finding the maps drawn in 2022 discriminated against Black voters. So that was also, that was not in a blue area. So when you see fair maps, look what happens. You get fair elections. Obviously, then, of course, the biggest news of the evening last night was how quickly the election was called for Zohran Mamdani. I thought it would be getting it later into the evening, and instead the polls closed, and I think like a half hour later or 40 minutes later, they were calling it for Mamdani. I was also wrong. I thought he wasn't going to get to 50% of the vote. I thought he'd be about 48 or 49. He did stay over the 50% mark. So I think that is a very interesting outcome. Obviously, Cuomo was a ridiculously flawed candidate, and was watching MSNBC, which, by the way, Steve Kornacki not being on the board on MSNBC is a gay hate crime. I'm just going to say that right now. Like, bring him back. I know he's at NBC now, whatever. He should be at MS now. Anyway, or that's what they're calling themselves now, MS now.
Ari Velshi did the best he could, but it's
I love
not his
Ali.
thing.
I love Ali.
Yeah.
Love Ali, but he's got some work to do. He's no Steve Kornacki.
No.
He has no Steve Kornacki. But as we were watching it last night, there was some criticism of Senator Schumer about how he didn't endorse Mamdani during the campaign, and Lawrence O'Donnell was like, well, he, as the leader of the Senate, and he didn't endorse Cuomo either, and none of the leadership endorsed Cuomo, and Cuomo was a nightmare for them. If Cuomo was such a nightmare for the Democrats, then why didn't the Democrats come out and go, you need to get out of the race?
Yeah, I mean, every time we put up a candidate that doesn't meet the standards of the corporate Democrats, they're very free to just rip people down, and of course it's progressives that are more aligned to democratic socialists than they are to corporate Democrats. So it's really going to be interesting in New York. I thought of since we've been enduring Trump, we heard a line from Mamdani last night that we've all been trying to think, how are we going to respond to this? And he said, if you're going to come for one of us, you have to get through all of us. I thought that was the defining ringing statement to Donald Trump from everybody that loves this country. I know it's dangerous. I know there's baggage that comes along with that, or threats that come along with that, but that's the truth. And I thought, I've never heard it stated clearly since the election, and Mamdani said it last night, and so I stand pretty firmly with him on that.
There was also some interesting framing coming out last night. I heard it on MSNBC. It's going to be MS now, and also on other interviews on other networks with Democratic spokespeople about look at how inclusive the Democratic Party is. We know how to govern because we know how to govern in Virginia. We know how to govern in New Jersey. We know how to govern in New York City. And yes, those may seem like different platforms, but that's because the Democratic Party is being responsive. I think that's interesting branding. The problem that I have with it is what happened here in Minneapolis, what happened in New York City, where you have Democrats that are that moderate side of things. And, in New York City, it was Cuomo who lost the primary, but then decided to keep going in there. And then it makes this vote blue no matter who, who's the who there, who votes blue and who determines who is blue. So I think it's an interesting messaging line. I'll be curious to see how that plays. Just because, you wake up this morning and I, pull up my phone and I read the AP News, and the analysis is, they won in Virginia and in New Jersey because they downplayed LGBTQ rights, because LGBTQ rights are a liability. And so, I wake up this morning and I can't enjoy the morning now because I'm just getting all these messages about how, well, they won because, I'm a political liability. Jim, you're a political liability. All the queer and trans people listening right now are political liabilities. So we can't talk about you. We shouldn't support your rights, blah, 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 blah. Right. And, so that's one party. And then the other party is you are literally a threat to America and you're destroying the country. Yeah. And, interestingly to see, though, is that 82% in an exit poll, 82% of LGBTQ voters went for Mamdani last night, and he was unapologetically pro-trans in his campaign, including in his social media, which was Choice social media, and has been for a number of months. He was at a trans rally earlier this year. So this false idea that Democrats, and I'm going to have a story about this because there's another thing that came out last week that Aaron in the Morning was reporting, and it is BS about this false choice that Democrats are pushing on us, which is it's either LGBTQ rights or it's democracy. You cannot have both. Newsom is the biggest one pushing this right now, but there are a bunch, now 3 Democratic strategy groups that are saying it's either the gays or it is democracy. You can't have both. I'm going to get into that next week. But speaking of the gays, this was a school board district that I was watching very closely last night in Colorado, Douglas County School Board. And the MAGA was going after retaining 4 GOP MAGA seats on the school board. They were all campaigning on keep the trans kids out of sports, keep the trans kids out of sports. All 4 of them have lost.
Yeah.
Or at least according to these results right now, a lot of votes will have to come in to upend all the not progressives, but all the Democratic endorsed candidates are prevailing in their races right now. So that was also excellent news from last night in the election. So
Let's
follow
up on that tomorrow, because I, just to make sure that good news holds. But
right. And then, of course, the map got approved as well in California. So we'll have some gerrymandering in California to offset Texas. All right, we're going to have Jake Wittich, Chicago Journalist of the Year and Managing Editor of Windy City Times. When we come back, you're listening to The Gailey Show on WCPT 820, Chicago's Progressive Talk, and AM 950 Radio, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
This is Santita Jackson, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hey, Jake. Can you hear us?
Yeah, sorry, I accidentally hit Siri. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. Hello.
Hello, Hot Mike on YouTube. All right. Is there anything election related that you want to unpack from yesterday?
No, it's just exciting, everything that's happened. That's all. Yeah, just
no worries. I just wanted to check in with that. We just spent the last 30 minutes talking about it.
Cool.
So we are good there. So I'm just gonna pull up your articles.
Do they give you like a tiara or a badge or a plaque or something for your? What do you get for an award?
I think I get like a standing plaque thing. So
I want you to bring that when you get it. I want to point it out. Yeah.
Is there no sash?
No, no sash. I'm still trying to get a suit together. It's a mess. So
well, enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. When is it?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. Very exciting for you. Do you want to start with round 1?
Yeah, let's do that and then end with something lighter.
Okay. Cool. All right. We will switch back over to the feed now.
All right.
You a fireplace that works in your life.
Across this country, LGBTQ rights are under threat. This is a struggle that the LGBTQ community knows all too well. Since 1987, Outfront Minnesota has been fighting for LGBTQ rights and protections here at home, and this work is needed now more than ever. Hard-fought wins here in the state of Minnesota are at risk, from the ban on the harmful practice of conversion therapy that passed in 2023 to transgender protection secured in our State Human Rights Act in 1993, and even national recognition of our same-sex marriage protections that we secured in 2013 are at risk. Outfront Minnesota has helped Minnesota become a national leader in LGBTQ rights, and they will hold the line to make sure we don't lose what we've gained. But they need you. Now is the time to step up and support Outfront Minnesota and LGBTQ rights here in our state. Outfront Minnesota needs your financial support today to strengthen LGBTQ protections at home, at school, and at the state capitol. Learn more and make your gift at outfront.org/give. That's outfront.org/give. With your AM 950 weather, I'm Brett Johnson. Look for sunny skies today with a high near 53, tonight clear with a low around 35, and Thursday cloudy with a high around 54. The enormous crocodile is roaring at children's theater company, but only for 3 more weeks. Experience this hilarious high-energy Roald Dahl musical with unforgettable puppetry and a wild jungle adventure for all ages. See it all before November 23rd. Tickets at childrenstheater.org.
AM 950, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Coming to you from the studios of AM 950 KTNF, the progressive voice of Minnesota, and airing on WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk. Welcome back to The Gailey Show. I am John Parker. Jim Pounds, my executive producer, is here with me. It is 33 minutes after the hour. We're also streaming on our YouTube channel right now. If you like what we're doing, subscribe, click like, and leave us a comment. Windy City Times has been the voice of Chicago's LGBTQ plus community since 1985. This year marks the news outlet's 40th anniversary of uplifting queer stories, reporting with pride, and chronicling LGBTQ plus history. You can visit windycitytimes.com/newsletters to sign up for the publication's weekly LGBTQ news updates. Jake Wittich is managing editor of Windy City Times, where he reports in-depth stories on Chicago's LGBTQ plus community and oversees that publication's growing newsletter operation. And also, the Chicago Journalists Association named him Journalist of the Year for 2025. He joins us now bi-weekly on Wednesday afternoons, Thursdays in Chicago. Jake, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
We're doing well. I mean, was it kind of a boring night for you yesterday or season? Because you didn't have any elections in Chicago or Illinois.
I know. I was kind of having FOMO. It was fun to watch what was happening, but I was like, okay, I'm ready for Chicago's elections. We have a primary coming up in March. So our filing deadline was yesterday or this week. And now I have the task of going through and identifying everyone who's running that is out in LGBTQ, so that we can write about them. And I have a list that just keeps growing. I don't know the numbers, but I'm sure it's got to be close to record-breaking number of out LGBTQ candidates in Illinois. So, yeah.
This is a primary for like everything? Or
yeah, everything from like super local, like county level to Congress. So
we get done wrapping up our coverage here in Minnesota, and you get to start yours the very next day.
Yeah. Hopefully yours is just as exciting.
Well, there's been a lot here. All right, so we'll look forward to that. Obviously, we'll be chatting with you a lot about the upcoming election there, because I know our listeners on WCPT 820 will definitely want to be keeping up to date with that. You've got some new reporting for us out of Chicago. Specifically, can we start with this article of an incident that happened at the Round One Arcade? Give us the scoop on that.
Yeah, so there is a transgender man. He came forward publicly. His name is Lucian Bates, and Lucian and his fiance were going to a Round One Arcade. It's like an arcade bar. I think they have go-karts at some of them at the North Riverside Mall, which is outside of Chicago. And the first thing they did when they got there was they went to the restroom, because they live in Indiana, so they'd driven kind of far, and Lucian, who is a trans man, every time he uses the restroom in public, he has to make a choice. Like, am I going to use the men's room, which is the gender I identify with, but risk being clocked in there and harassed, or do I use the women's room, which some people might still perceive me as, and maybe have it's just a decision he has to weigh every time he's using the restroom in public. So he normally does opt to use the women's restroom, just thinking that he'll fly a little more under the radar there. People will perceive him as female and just not harass him. Unfortunately, the opposite happened this time around, and he and his fiance went into the women's room, and comes in a security guard and is just kind of like, you're not allowed to be in here. And then Lucian and his fiance pressed like, why? And the security guard just kept saying, you know why. Like, she wouldn't flat out say it. And then she eventually said, like, you are men, you can't be in this restroom. Show me your IDs. It has to match this gender. And Lucian refused to share his ID, but his fiance did, whose ID still says female on it. So, it's just silly. I don't know. So then it blew up from there. And then more security got involved. Then they're outside of the bathroom, and just about every security guard in the Round One Arcade is there. Management's there. Multiple staffers are there. And it's a whole scene now. Yeah.
Why did so many people get involved?
Beats me, and that's what Lucian was saying. It was a very drastic response. Lucian said to just using the restroom. So
has Round One issued any statement? Did you get to talk to them?
I didn't really get to talk to them. I had reached out several times and they sent me a pretty generic statement, essentially just saying, we don't tolerate discrimination of any kind, whether toward our employees, guests, or third parties like the security vendors and contractors. So they just kind of said, we don't tolerate discrimination, and they didn't really address this situation specifically. So that's about it.
So I'm just pulling up your article here, and I'm seeing that they said appropriate corrective measures have been taken. Did they give any indication of what that was?
No, and I sent a follow-up asking, like, what are the appropriate corrective measures? I followed up with Lucian, and I was like, have you heard anything? Because he did file a complaint with Round One, and he hadn't heard anything. So I don't really know what these corrective measures are, but it's just a shame, you know. This has got to be so stressful for Lucian. I'd imagine it's traumatizing now. Every time it's already got to be hard being a trans person using a public restroom, and now having this experience, it's got to be even harder mentally for Lucian. Like, is there any winning? You know, if he used the men's room, he could just as easily have been harassed. So. And Round One is like their place, their happy place, him and his partner. They love Dance Dance Revolution. So they're like regulars at this Round One for years, and they've never had issues there. But for some reason, this one time it just blew up, and now, you know, his favorite place is ruined.
Ugh. Is he saying that he's not going to go back there?
Not to this one specifically, but maybe there's other Round Ones, and he does have friends that manages a different Round One, who was kind of an ally in helping get his complaint to the right people. So maybe he'll just drive the longer distance to go to that Round One that's safer.
And so we had an incident like this in Minnesota at the Buffalo Wild Wings earlier this year, and the individual is filing a complaint with our Minnesota Human Rights Commission, which can then lead to some type of mediation. And if that doesn't go well, it could lead to a lawsuit. Does Illinois have something similar to this at a state level where an individual can file? Because I know you all also have a Human Rights Act that is similar to ours.
Yeah, and we do have... Yeah, we have the Illinois Human Rights Act, which prevents discrimination on many things, including gender identity. And we do have a commission where you can report these things to. I asked Lucian, like, do you plan on taking legal action? Do you plan on reporting them to the government? Like, what steps do you want to take? And he's still kind of mulling it over. I think he wanted to see what happens when this story comes out. And I don't know, still deciding. Maybe a lawyer might come to him and be like, here's your options. But as of now, it doesn't sound like Lucian wants to take any steps like that.
Are there legal organizations in Illinois that, I mean, we have gender justice here in Minnesota where folks can reach out to for, I mean, not legal advice, but legal resources, I guess, of like where to go, but they can also request for representation. And in this instance, at Buffalo Wild Wings, they did take on that case. Are there organizations like that in Illinois that queer people could turn to say, hey, you know, this thing happened to me?
Yeah, I mean, we have Lambda Legal. I wonder if Lucian could go to them and talk about this and see if they might have any resources or advice there. But I mean, it's hard, and I don't think it's complicated. I think it's stupid that anyone should have to explain their gender to use a public restroom. He wasn't being disruptive in there. It was a literal in and out trip. They weren't loitering, anything like that. But maybe it could be complicated because he identifies as a man but was in the woman's restroom. I still think that's stupid, but maybe someone might make that a hurdle for Lucian in seeking justice.
Well, I mean, isn't it just fascinating where oh my God, they're like, we don't want quote unquote like men to be in the, okay, you got trans women using the women's bathroom, but then now trans men are trying to use the bathroom that's aligned with their
like, what do you want? Yeah, and that's the thing, they don't get it. Like They just don't get it.
They don't want to have to think about it. Is my editorial is that they don't want to think about it.
Well,
they don't want to acknowledge us. They don't want to even know that that trans people exist. So they
Yeah.
just don't want to deal with it, and they want to create a situation where they're just not in public anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think for a lot of MAGA folks, that would just be spectacular. And I think, frankly, for too many Democrats, they'd be like, I would just prefer. They're saying I would just prefer not even talking about this ever again in my life.
Right.
But that's my editorial.
Yeah, reality check. Trans people exist. They always have existed and they always will. So like, just accept them, address it, like, yeah. So
it is wild when you get people like Bill Maher right now that are like, why is everybody trans? And I'm like, the reason why 30% of kids are identifying as queer somewhere along the rainbow is that we're providing environments for that reality to happen.
yeah, there were just as many queer. I'm so sorry, but I agree. There were just as many queer people before this. And the reality is many of them just couldn't come out or they didn't know the language to express it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Democrats may be sitting there and saying, I don't want to have to think about this. I don't want to think about this. Like, we can't talk about this anymore. We're losing elections because of it. This of what you're reporting on right now is why we need to be talking about it, because in the absence of real laws, in the absence of real equality, then you get this nonsense happening and you're putting businesses in an impossible situation and you're empowering people who are mean, cruel, dumb, ignorant, you pick your word. They're all of the above, only some of them, to do BS like this, to be reporting stuff that doesn't need to be reported.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild.
It's just harassment. I don't mean to say just harassment, but it is, the point is harassment so that people go out in public, I think.
We are talking with Jake Wittich, managing editor of Windy City Times. All right, so there's a new GenderCool leader, Chase Glenn. Tell us about Chase and what is happening this month.
Yeah, so Chase Glenn, he is the newish leader of GenderCool. He started actually earlier this year, but he's resettled in Chicago. He comes from, I think, North Carolina. He's resettled, not North Carolina, but he's resettled from South Carolina into Chicago. And they're really kind of kicking off his leadership there. So GenderCool is an organization that uses storytelling to kind of boost support for transgender youth specifically. And I think that's so important right now because we're at a moment where the political attacks are really against transgender youth, especially right now. So the idea of this organization is to bring youth together, empower them to share their stories, their whole stories, the joy, the trauma, everything, and just help people feel like they know a trans person, because so many people don't. And that's what's causing this information gap where people are abusing. So
does Illinois have, I know in Minnesota, we're attempting to quantify how many people have come here from other states because of feeling unsafe or being unsafe or their work or their home, their children, whatever the situation is. Does Illinois have any statistics to back up the empirical evidence or not?
I don't think so. That would be really cool to have, though, just because I'm hearing from all the nonprofits and LGBTQ organizations, even the government saying it, like, especially families with trans people especially are coming to Illinois, where we're supposed to have access to gender affirming care, but obviously that's being limited as well. Right. But yeah, it's a reality that people are kind of fleeing to Illinois like they are to your state.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I think those statistics would be really powerful. I'm sure it's not easy to get, and I'm sure, it's not something you can flip a switch and have, but I think it's going to tell a story that is unexpected in a lot of corners and powerful because of it.
Yeah, exactly. So
we have to fit in a break here. We're going to have more with Jake Wittich, managing editor of Windy City Times. Before we take that break, we'd like to invite you to check out our GLAAD Media Award nominated podcast, This Queer Book Saved My Life. I interview LGBTQ guests from across the rainbow about a queer book that had a life-saving impact for them. Plus, we bring in the authors of those books to join the conversations. You can stream This Queer Book Saved My Life everywhere you get your podcast or at thisqueerbook.com. Stay tuned. We will be right back. You're listening to The Gaily Show.
Hi, it's Penny from Nightingale, your gathering spot near 26th and Lyndale in South Minneapolis since 2012. Come check out the fun and vibrant atmosphere. Besides our traditional favorites like the Nightingale burger and fries, did you know we also have delicious vegetarian and vegan options? Plus, we have one of the best gluten-free menus in town. And for drinks, our bar staff is always creating fun new cocktails along with a thoughtfully curated wine and beer list. Join us at Nightingale where good times and great flavors come together.
Hey, this is John Parker at Rainbow Road in Minneapolis. The holidays are coming up, and you can buy a limited selection of official Tom of Finland swimwear, tanks, and underwear for that special someone or for yourself. But don't wait on this. When they're gone, they're gone. And while you're there, update your gym look from a wide selection of tanks, t-shirts, and shorts. Rainbow Road is open 7 days a week on Grant Street by Loring Park and all the time at rainbowrd.com. Remember to get it at the road.
Turn to Auto Technical with your vehicle donation. We have families waiting for a car. You know, over 85% of unemployed are successful in finding and keeping a job if they have dependable transportation. A car plus a job equals a life changed. 612-919-5526. We have families waiting for a car. 919-5526 or autotech.org.
Hi, this is Frank Brown of Minuteman Press Uptown with a question for our listeners. How important are business values to you? When you need high-quality digital print, it matters who you work with. You see, Minuteman Uptown is unique. We're one of the only union print shops in Minnesota providing our team with living wages and benefits. We believe in second chances for justice-impacted individuals who want to contribute to the community, and we are active in local issues. We've been in the streets standing up for racial, social, and economic justice. At Minuteman Uptown, our mission is to connect all communities through technology-driven print solutions. An example of that mission is when I moved Minuteman Uptown to North Minneapolis. We're invested in this local community, and we help small businesses and local organizations throughout the Twin Cities reach their audiences. Reach out to Minuteman Uptown and partner with a printer that shares your values. Call us today at 612-870-0777 or visit us at mpuptown.com. That's mpuptown.com.
Would you let animals pick your insurance? Do you really need to experience mayhem to get the best rates? Or how about a celebrity quarterback or fake university saving you money? There's a lot of marketing stunts when it comes to insurance, but what you really need is someone looking out for you. Call Array Insurance, and they will work hard to find you the best insurance coverage and rates. So avoid gimmicks and call Cheryl at Array, 763-504-3067 or arrayinsurance.com. Array Insurance, working hard for you.
Welcome back to the Gaily Show. I'm John Parker. That music kind of feels like surfing, like we're riding a blue wave of some kind, right? That was a good choice, Patrick. He is the 2025 Journalist of the Year, according to the Chicago Journalists Association. Jake Wittich, managing editor of Windy City Times, is still here with us, our guest today, joining us every other week to share his award-winning journalism. Go ahead, Jake.
Well, if you have a question, I have a question for Jake. You were talking about LGBT candidates, and in Virginia, there was this not only a pickup of 14 seats or 13 seats by the Democrats, but 6 of them were LGBT. And you were sort of indicating that there were a lot of people, a lot of LGBT candidates that you were looking at for Illinois. Do you have any sense whether the legislature is a place where you're seeing a lot of candidates, or they're just all over the place, from dog catcher to whatever?
They really are all over. I know of at least 2 or 3 running for the state legislature. There's at least 2 or 3 running for Congress, and then there's even smaller like county boards or school boards, things like that. So it's just cool to have candidates at every level of government, because every level of government affects our community. So yeah.
And do you know if LGBTQ task force is having any? I feel like they are really having an impact throughout the country, because they're endorsing and also teaching people how to run for office or answering questions.
You mean Victory Institute?
Or Victory Institute.
Yeah.
We have them on, right? And
You know, I just had an interview this morning. There, the story will be out soon, but there's a woman named Star De Los Santos, and she just completed the Victory Institute training. So yeah, she was raving about that. She learned so much. Danica Roam actually like taught the cohort. So she got a lot of really valuable lessons out of that. And then I'm working on another story. We have a group called the Illinois Women's Leadership Academy, and there's 2 queer people, Rebecca Kling and Elena Humphreys, and Rebecca is a trans woman, and Elena is queer and a wheelchair user. So really cool to have like these local leaders complete these trainings to prepare them for office.
Yeah,
I am curious if we can come back to the GenderCool story for a second. As you were sharing it, this is a really difficult period right now for queer and trans kids. I am curious if Chase talked at all about how they're telling stories in this particular moment. Like, is there a way that they're approaching a work in 2025 that is different than it was prior to this year?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is just nothing for us without us. Chase told me there's a lot of conversations happening about trans people, trans youth especially, with no one from those communities at the table. So it's really about getting youth, especially in front of anything from schools to businesses to even political leaders who want to understand more. These are youth, so you want to be careful not to put them in a dangerous situation or someone who's going to, potentially harm them with their rhetoric. But it's really the power of youth storytelling. And what I want to talk about builds on that. They have their upcoming gala. It is November 12th at a location that they're keeping under wraps, just given the climate. It's safer to have a trans event at a kind of secret location. But it's an evening with GenderCool's champions, and the champions are the youth who share their stories. So it's really a celebration of the youth doing this work and putting them as the face of this organization so people know what they're supporting.
That's great.
Isn't it just...
Oh, it's tragic.
To have events at undisclosed locations in 2025.
Well, PFLAG just had their conference here too, and they kept that location under wraps as well. I've seen a lot more LGBTQ events trying to keep their locations a little more hidden. And I even get surprised when I see groups having it, like especially the trans groups, when they have an event and they're so public about the location. I worry, and thankfully nothing's happened, but I just do worry. That's all.
Yeah.
Well, when we see that story out of Michigan on Monday, where there were, they arrested 2 guys who were buying weapons and casing LGBTQ bars, which one they were going to attack. I mean, it is absolutely a thing. If folks want to attend the fundraiser, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, go to gendercoolevents.org. gendercoolevents.org.
And then after you get your ticket, they will obviously let you know where.
Yeah, then they'll let you know the location. So yeah, and it's cool. I think especially right now, we need to be telling our stories. Chase he used to work with a nonprofit, like I said, in South Carolina. And just getting these youth to tell their stories with legislators often like convinced even Republican legislators to support legislation or amendments that would support trans youth. So it really shows how we can, our queer stories can push the needle.
And we have folks like you who are also telling stories. And you've got a ceremony coming up here.
Yes. So next Friday is the Chicago Journalists Association's award ceremony. And they named me Journalist of the Year, which is still such a shock to me. But I'm so grateful. I have been working incredibly hard these past 2 years. I just didn't know the straight people were paying attention to it. So.
Well, ostensibly, there's some gays.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
Journalist Association, hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, is there like a guest of honor table? Do you set like a special table? You told us before that there's no sash involved, which I'm
no sash. Yeah. It's like a reception. It's kind of like a mingling networking hour where they serve you hors d'oeuvres. There's an open bar. And then you go into like an auditorium hall. It's at the Newberry Library, which is beautiful. And just lots of seats. I don't know. I got to be around 100, I think. And then I'll give a speech. I have a 10-minute speech I have to give. It's written. I've been rehearsing it every day. And then Tracy Bain, who co-founded Windy City Times, is the keynote speaker. And she said she would only do it if someone could interview her. And so I'm going to be interviewing her as well. So.
Oh my gosh, it's a Windy City Times event. Well, I can't wait to see photos and hopefully video from it. But we got to go, everyone. Up next on WCPT 820 is Choose Views with Richard Chu on AM 950 Radio. It's the Matt McNeil Show. And until this time tomorrow, keep it queer, America.
Keep it queer.
Yeah.